Mack and Rita is a film that's coming to theaters that you probably haven't heard of for the right reasons. Now, you probably will hear about this movie in a few years, and what I mean by that is because this will be a bad movie that YouTubers who break down bad movies like point for point, beat for beat will probably do that just to be like ironic and make fun of it. This is a terrible movie. I knew it was going to be terrible from the description of this movie, but even then, I'm kind of a guy who, no matter how terrible a movie looks or sounds or, kind of is, unless it has like some weird political agenda, like I'm never going to watch a Ben Shapiro Daily Wire production and review those or even talk about those because those are like politically motivated or whatever. But other than that, like let's just say an average normal type of movie that's not made by a piece of human garbage. I'll go into it and I will, kind of just give it a chance. And I went into this movie giving it a chance. If you don't know what the plot of this movie, the plot of this movie is basically there's this woman. Okay, this woman was a girl who grew up loving her grandma and feeling like an old soul, basically. Which they don't say that in the movie. They say, like, the language in this movie is weird. I'll talk about that in a minute. But she grows up like that, so now she's older and doesn't know what she wants, and she's 30 years old and just trying to figure stuff out and pretending to be someone else. And then she gets into this tanning bed and wakes up as a 70-year-old woman. And now antics ensue. And now you might be thinking, okay, so what I just described, you might be thinking two things. One, that sounds like total shit, and you would be right. And B, okay, that sounds like a comedy, right? There is not a lot of comedy in this movie, actually, at all. In fact, there's very few comedy. In fact, all the comedy is in this movie. I don't know if it's just meant to be like those characters would say that, or it's actually made to be funny. Because it's so dry and boring. This movie is incredibly boringly shot. And many times feels like a Hallmark movie or some kind of sitcom. Feels like that movie Easter Sunday that I reviewed last week, where that movie was very much like a movie that had no business being in theaters, had a lot of sitcom music. This is very much the same thing, except this is a movie that is way worse than that movie. Because at least with that movie, you get the message and you get the point of it. I don't get what the point of this movie was, because if this movie was to show that there's good things to being old, well, it doesn't do that, because by the end of the movie, she becomes young again, and she learns to appreciate being young. Which is like, I think most people appreciate being young. It's most people who don't appreciate being old or their elders, right? This is very much the opposite of that. So it's very bizarre kind of storytelling. And the dialogue here is so bad because, again, like at the beginning of this movie, she's narrating and going, I really got attached to the term old gal. Instead of, like, nobody, like, how many people do you know who still talk like that? That old gal, no one talks like that. I mean, for the most part, like, I don't hear people talk like that. I hear, if someone's referring to someone who has, like, an older sensibility or taste, they call them an old soul. Like, that's what I hear more commonly. And so it's just weird kind of language. The dialogue here is terrible. I mean, there's a scene and there's a scene, and there's also just a lot of old people stereotypes. Like, for example, in this movie, she like explains to these old people what the hell like Instagram is, and how like some people get paid to post pictures and stuff like it's just bad. Like, this movie's not funny. It's boring. When I went into the theater, I got a ticket, right? And I was asking my coworker, because I was working a movie theater, like I mentioned. Mind if I see how many people are in this theater? So he opened it up for me. There was one person in the theater at the time when I bought that ticket. Guess who that was? It was me. I was the one person. And then one other person bought a ticket, sat down, walked into the movie, and we both walked out early. Now, not like major early. It was like 1 minute before the credits rolled. Like we were just both out of here because this movie's bad. It's a very bad movie. It's not. I thought this movie was gonna be bad. Like, you know how bad Melissa McCarthy comedies are? No, it's not even that because at least there, like, I can understand. I wouldn't like them. I wouldn't say they're good, but a bad Melissa McCarthy movie, okay, I can understand that there's an audience for that that finds it funny and would enjoy that. Who would enjoy this movie? It's so boring. It's unfunny. And I don't know. Again, can't tell whether it's trying to be funny or what the message is. Because if the message if the message is appreciate being old, well, it doesn't do that. If the message is appreciate being young, well, that's just a stupid message. Because, well, again, I think most people do that. But okay, and if you're an older person, why would you appreciate a movie like this that talks down to you as if you're stupid and you don't know what Instagram is and all these things, right? So, who is going to watch this movie? No one. It's just a very bizarre movie that I don't understand why this was made. Sometimes it's just bizarre, the movies that get made, because you're like, here's these thousands of people who have stories to tell and things to make, and then they find shit like this, and you're like, who made this and why? And this is exactly what this movie is. I wanted to see it because I thought it would be like ironically really bad, and it kind of wasn't. It was just one of those bad movies that you're just like, you feel nothing after watching it. Like I was literally sitting here, not wanting to record a review because there's just nothing to say about this movie. But then I was like, if I don't record a review, I'm gonna forget everything about this movie. So if I decide I want to review this movie later, I can't. So I just need to record it, and here I am. Because I did get even though my ticket was free, I do feel like I should record a review, and I also just wanted to deter anyone from seeing this movie or even thinking about buying it, renting it, whatever the hell they're gonna do with this movie. I should have a couple more reviews up tomorrow. Stay tuned for those. But yeah, if this movie caught your eye at all, there are like 4 other movies coming out in theaters this weekend. I don't know how good they're going to be, but they're probably going to be better than this. So there you go.